She ate our marriage. Started as just a video, but then she stopped cooking for us and lived only for the camera. I calmly said, I'm no longer part of this. And when she realized she was all alone, I don't know exactly when I lost my wife. Maybe it was the first time she sat in front of the camera with a giant plate of noodles, slurping them up with such exaggerated pleasure that even a professional chef would have been envious. Or maybe it was when she stopped cooking for the two of us and started preparing meals only for her viewers. Or when she began spending more time in live stream chats than she did talking to me. All I know is that one day, I woke up and realized I was no longer part of her life. We had been married for 5 years, and up until last year I thought we were happy. Sarah was an amazing wife. Attentive, caring, always making time for us no matter how busy she was. I still remember the last truly perfect night we had together. It was a Friday evening. She had made her famous homemade lasagna, the one she only made for special occasions. We sat together at the kitchen table, the candles flickering between us. I had just told her a stupid joke, something about my boss at work, and she burst out laughing, really laughing the way she used to when we first met. You're ridiculous, she said, shaking her head with a smile. But God, I love you. She reached across the table, taking my hand in hers. Her fingers were warm, familiar. I squeezed back, feeling safe, feeling like we were unbreakable. That was the last time I truly felt close to her. A week later, mukbang entered our lives. At first, it seemed like harmless fun. Sarah had always loved food and experimenting with recipes. When she discovered that people were making money by simply eating enormous amounts of food on camera, she was curious. It's just a game, she said, setting up her camera in our kitchen for the first time. I just want to see if anyone will even watch. I was intrigued too. It was entertaining at first, watching her start off a little shy, then slowly grow more confident, cracking jokes and laughing as she responded to comments. But that was just the beginning. The real shift happened when she got her first donation. $200. For one video. Can you believe this? She shrieked, holding up her phone. Someone paid me $200 just to eat. She was ecstatic. I was uneasy. That night, she crawled into bed hours after me. I woke up when she slipped under the covers, her body still buzzing with excitement. I think I can really do this, she whispered, her breath warm against my neck. I wrapped an arm around her, pulling her close. As long as it makes you happy. She kissed my cheek and nestled into me. It does. But I wasn't sure if I meant what I said. A few weeks later, I walked into the kitchen expecting to find her making breakfast. Instead, she was already in front of the camera, surrounded by plates of steaming food, her face glowing under the ring light. Good morning, my loves, she giggled, her voice softer, sweeter than it ever was with me. The screen in front of her was flooded with comments. You look amazing today, Sarah. Can't wait to see you eat all that. You're my favorite streamer. I opened my mouth to say something, but she didn't even look at me. She didn't hear me come in. Or maybe she did. Maybe I just didn't matter anymore. Before mukbang, Sarah and I had our rituals. Sunday mornings were ours. We'd wake up late, make pancakes together, and sit at the kitchen table in our pajamas, talking about everything and nothing. She'd steal bites from my plate, laughing when I pretended to be annoyed. It was the kind of life I had always wanted. Then, little by little, those moments disappeared. First, it was small things. She started waking up earlier to check her comments, then skipping breakfast to plan her next stream. Our Sunday mornings turned into her content prep days. She'd spend hours scrolling through trends, researching viral food challenges, and mapping out her next mukbang session. It's just for a while, she assured me. I need to build an audience. And she did. A month in, she had thousands of followers. People were throwing money at her in donations. Brands started reaching out, offering free food and sponsorship deals. I was proud of her. At least I tried to be. But pride turned to resentment when I realized I was being replaced. One night, I came home from work with takeout from our favorite Thai place. She was already filming. The kitchen lights were dimmed except for the glow of her ring light. In front of her was a feast. Huge bowls of noodles, crispy spring rolls, golden curry puffs. I waited for her to acknowledge me. She didn't. I leaned against the doorway, listening as she giggled at the screen. "Oh my God! You guys are so sweet!" she cooed, twirling noodles around her chopsticks. "You know I love when you spoil me." My stomach twisted. That was our thing. The playful teasing, the way I used to steal food from her plate just to see her pout. But now, she was saying it to a faceless crowd of strangers. Later that night, when she finally came to bed, I asked, "Do you even enjoy this? Or is it just for the money?" She frowned. "Why would you ask that?" "Because you don't even taste your food anymore," I said. "You just perform." Her expression darkened. "This is a real job, you know?" I didn't say it wasn't. I hesitated. "But it's taking over everything." She sighed and turned away. "You just don't get it." No, I didn't. A few weeks later, I realized I never would. It was a Friday night, and I had planned a date night just like we used to. I set up candles, cooked her favorite pasta, and poured 2 glasses of wine. When she came home, she barely looked at the table. "Oh," she said, glancing at her phone. "I can't tonight. I have a collab with another mukbanger. It's a huge opportunity." I stared at her. "Are you serious?" She shrugged. "It's just dinner, babe. We can do this another night." I looked at the untouched food, at the flickering candles, then back at her. "No, we can't," I said quietly. She sighed, exasperated. "Why are you making this such a big deal?" I opened my mouth, but no words came out. "Because if I said what I was really thinking, you don't have time for me anymore. You don't even see me." I knew exactly what she'd say. "You just don't get it." I don't know why I kept trying. Maybe because I still loved her. Maybe because I wasn't ready to accept that I had lost her. But then came the night I finally broke. Sarah had been pulling longer and longer streaming hours, sometimes eating 3 or 4 full meals a day on camera. She stopped sitting down for dinner with me entirely. I couldn't remember the last time we had eaten together without her phone buzzing with donation notifications. One night, I came home late from work. The apartment smelled like greasy fast food and stale leftovers. I found Sarah in the living room, sitting cross-legged in front of her camera, surrounded by boxes of fried chicken and burgers. She was laughing, chatting with her audience, her cheeks stuffed with food. I stood there in the doorway watching her, watching the way she tilted her head just right, the way she giggled at the comments flashing across her screen. "Sarah, you're so gorgeous when you eat. Can you do a close-up bite for us, baby? Your husband is so lucky. Does he ever feed you like this?" She laughed at that one. I clenched my fists. I had spent months feeling like I was fading into the background, but that comment made it real. I wasn't her husband anymore. I was just the guy who lived in her house, the guy she ignored while she performed for 1,000 faceless fans. That's when I realized I wasn't jealous of her success. I just missed the way she used to look at me. When the stream finally ended, she looked up at me for the first time all night. "Hey," she said casually, licking grease from her fingers. "You okay? Do I look okay?" I snapped. She blinked. "What's wrong with you?" I let out a bitter laugh. "You really have to ask?" Sarah rolled her eyes and started packing up her food. "Not this again," she muttered. I reached for the remote and dimmed the ring light. The sudden darkness made her flinch. "What's going on?" she hissed. "We need to talk." She sighed, wiping her mouth with a napkin. "Can this wait? I'm exhausted." "No," I said. "It can't." For the first time in months, she finally saw the anger on my face, the frustration, the exhaustion, the loneliness. "Sarah, do you even love me anymore?" My voice came out hoarse. I wasn't sure I wanted to hear the answer. She scoffed. "Of course I do. Don't be dramatic." "Dramatic?" I let out a humorless laugh. "I've spent months trying to get your attention. You don't even see me anymore." She crossed her arms. "I'm building something for us. For our future." "No. You're building something for yourself." I took a step forward. "And if I'm being honest, I don't think I'm part of it anymore." The room was silent. She opened her mouth, then closed it. For the first time, she had nothing to say. And that silence told me everything I needed to know. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight lift from my chest. I'm done, Sarah. Her brows furrowed. Done with what? I swallowed. With this. With you. She laughed, but it sounded hollow. You're overreacting. No, I'm not. My voice was calm, steady, stronger than I had felt in months. I'm leaving. And this time, she couldn't just roll her eyes and laugh it off. She froze. Wait, you're serious? I nodded. For the first time in a long time, Sarah wasn't performing. She was just a woman sitting in a dark room, staring at the man who had finally stopped waiting for her. Don't do this, she whispered. I shook my head. You already did. I turned, grabbed my keys and walked out the door. She didn't chase after me. She just let me go. Leaving wasn't as easy as walking out the door. The first few days felt surreal. I stayed in a cheap motel on the other side of town, staring at the ceiling, wondering if she would call, if she would text, if she would fight for me. She didn't. Instead, I woke up to a notification. Sarah had gone live. I hesitated before clicking on it, my heart pounding. Maybe, just maybe, this was her way of reaching out. Maybe she was going to talk about us, about what had happened. I was wrong. The moment the stream loaded, I saw her sitting in the same spot I had left her. The same ring light, the same perfectly arranged plates of food. But something was different. Her eyes looked puffy, like she had been crying. Hey guys, she said, forcing a smile. I know I usually start these off super happy, but today's been a little rough. I just want to say how much I appreciate you all. You guys are my real family. My stomach dropped. The comments flooded in. We love you, Sarah. Are you okay, Queen? You don't need anyone but us. I slammed my phone down. She wasn't just moving on. She was finding a way to cope. I spent the next week moving my things out of our apartment. I did it while she was filming, knowing she wouldn't come out of her room. I packed my clothes, my books, the framed photos of us that I knew she wouldn't bother removing from the walls. I didn't leave a note. What was the point? Update, life after Sarah. Starting over at 30 wasn't easy. I rented a small one-bedroom apartment across town. It wasn't much, just a couch, a bed, and a coffee table I found on Craigslist, but it was mine. The hardest part was the silence. For years, my world had been filled with Sarah's laughter. The hum of her voice as she scrolled through comments, the sizzle of food in the kitchen. Now, the only sound was the distant hum of the city outside my window. I tried to distract myself. Work, the gym, mindless scrolling on my phone. But somehow she was everywhere. Her face popped up on my feed. Her voice echoed in viral clips. She was getting bigger. It started with a BuzzFeed article. Meet Sarah, the mukbang queen making thousands just by eating. Then came the YouTube features, the collaborations with other streamers, the sponsorship deals. While I was sitting alone in my apartment, eating takeout in front of the TV, Sarah was living the dream. Or so I thought. Update. 3 months after I left, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something told me to pick up. Hello. A shaky breath on the other end. Then, Ethan. I hadn't heard her voice in months, but I recognized it instantly. Sarah. Silence. Then, a sob. I sat up straight. What's wrong? More silence. Then, barely above a whisper. I think I messed up. I closed my eyes. I wanted to hang up. I wanted to tell her that she had made her choice, that she had picked her audience over me. But something in her voice stopped me. What happened? She sniffled. Can you come? I should have said no, but I didn't. The truth behind the screen. When I arrived at our old apartment, I barely recognized her. Sarah had always been beautiful, but now she looked hollow. Her skin was pale, her cheeks sunken. The bright, confident girl I once knew was gone. She let me in without a word. The place was a mess. Empty food containers, unopened mail, a half-eaten meal still sitting under her camera setup. I turned to her. Sarah, what's going on? She hugged herself. I can't stop. Stop what? She gestured vaguely at the room. This, the streaming, the eating, the pressure. It's too much. I exhaled slowly. Then why don't you quit? She let out a bitter laugh. Because I don't know how. And finally, she told me the truth. She wasn't eating for fun anymore. She was eating because she had to. Her audience expected bigger portions, crazier foods. If she didn't keep pushing the limits, they would leave. The money would stop. I wake up every morning, and it's the first thing I think about, she whispered. What am I eating today? How many views will I get? Will it be enough? I ran a hand through my hair. Sarah, this isn't healthy. She nodded, tears spilling over. I know, but I can't stop. If I stop, I have nothing. I wanted to tell her she was wrong, that she still had a life outside of mukbang, that she could rebuild. But looking at her, I wasn't sure she believed that anymore. And maybe, deep down, neither did I. I should have walked away. I should have told Sarah that this wasn't my problem anymore, that she made her choice and had to live with it. But as I stood there, looking at the shell of the woman I once loved, I couldn't do it. She wasn't the confident, successful mukbanger I saw on my feed. She wasn't the woman laughing into the camera while hundreds of strangers told her she was perfect. She was just Sarah, and she was breaking. I sat down on the couch, pushing aside an empty takeout box. Tell me everything. She wiped her face with her sleeve. It started slow. First, I thought I could handle it. A few extra meals a week. Then every day. Then twice a day. Her voice cracked. Then the sponsorships started rolling in, and suddenly, I wasn't just eating for fun. I was eating to keep my career alive. I frowned. Sponsorships. She nodded. Restaurants. Fast food brands. Even supplement companies that pretend to help with digestion. They all pay me to promote their products. And my followers? They eat that shit up. Literally. Her hands were trembling. But it got worse. People don't just want to see me eat anymore. They want excess. They want me to push my limits. Bigger meals. Weirder food. More reactions. I stared at her. So why don't you stop? Her laugh was dry, humorless. Because if I stop, I lose everything I built. And then what happens next? She gestured to the messy apartment. This? I didn't have an answer. Sarah rubbed her temples. At first, I told myself I was in control. But lately, I've been feeling drained, Ethan. I'm constantly exhausted, and it's taking a toll on me. She sighed, looking away. Some days, I finish a stream and just need a moment to reset before I can think about my next one. My stomach twisted. Sarah, she shook her head. I know what you're thinking, that I did this to myself. And you're right, but I don't know how to fix it. I exhaled slowly. You need help, she scoffed. From who? A doctor? They'll just tell me to stop. A therapist? I don't have time to unpack my childhood trauma. Ethan, I have a sponsorship deal tomorrow, and if I cancel, they'll blacklist me. Her voice cracked on the last word. And suddenly I saw it. She wasn't just addicted to the money. She had become trapped in the cycle. The attention. The constant flood of comments telling her she was special, beautiful, worthy. And the worst part? It had never been about the food. Sarah looked up at me, her eyes desperate. Tell me what to do. I swallowed hard. You already know what you have to do. Silence. Then, she whispered, I'm scared. I reached for her hand, squeezing gently. I know. Took her 3 days to work up the courage. She texted me that morning. Going live tonight. Can you watch? I didn't reply. But at 8 p.m., I opened my laptop. Sarah's face filled the screen. She was wearing her usual makeup, her hair curled perfectly, but I could see it. The exhaustion beneath the surface. The hollowness in her eyes. Hey guys, she said, forcing a smile. Tonight's a little different. I need to talk to you. The chat exploded. Where's the food? Are you okay? What's going on? She took a shaky breath. I love you all, truly. But I can't do this anymore. The comments flooded in faster. Confusion. Panic. Some begging her to stay, others accusing her of betraying them. Tears welled up in her eyes. I started this channel because I loved food. I loved sharing meals with you. But somewhere along the way I lost myself. And if I keep going, I don't think I'll survive. I clenched my jaw. She wasn't exaggerating. For the next 10 minutes, she poured her heart out. She admitted to the binging, the purging, the fear of stopping. She told them about the pressure, the sponsorships, the sickness. And when she was done, she did something I never thought she would. She turned off the camera. For good. Update 1 year later. I hadn't seen Sarah in months. She moved out of the city, went off the grid for a while. No social media. No content. Just healing. I didn't think she'd ever reach out again. But one afternoon, as I was sitting in a coffee shop, my phone buzzed. Hey, I'm in town. Want to meet up? I hesitated. Then yeah, same place. An hour later, she walked through the door. She looked different. Healthier. Softer. There were faint scars under her eyes where stress used to be. She smiled. Hi. Hey. We sat down, and for the first time in years we shared a meal. No cameras. No audience. No performance. Just us. She pushed a fry toward me, teasing. Still mad at me? I smirked. Nah. But if you start narrating your bites, I'm walking out. She laughed. Really laughed. And for the first time I believed she was finally free. Final update. I never expected to write this. But a year after everything that happened, I found myself sitting in my apartment, staring at my laptop, fingers hovering over the keyboard. I had been holding it in for so long. Everything that had happened with Sarah, the way we unraveled, the way I walked away. I wasn't sure what I was looking for when I started typing. Closure? Validation? Just someone to hear me? I went to Reddit, to one of those relationship advice subs, and I told my story. I wrote about how my marriage fell apart over mukbang. I wrote about how Sarah lost herself to the pressure of an audience that never had to live with the consequences of their demands. I wrote about how I left when I felt like I no longer mattered, and how, months later, she called me. Broken, scared, desperate for help. I wrote about how I helped her pick up the pieces, but how, after everything, I still didn't know if I could trust her. I ended it with a question. We were married. We are still married. I didn't want to file for divorce while she was recovering. I knew that would destroy her. But now that she's better, isn't this the right time to finally let go? I hit post. I closed my laptop. I went to bed. And by the time I woke up, my post had exploded. The internet reacts. I don't know what I expected. Maybe a handful of comments telling me I did the right thing, that I wasn't crazy for feeling this way. Instead, there were thousands. My inbox was flooded. People were debating, arguing, picking apart every detail of my story. And the part that surprised me the most? How many people thought I was the villain? You just left her? When she needed you most? Dude, you were her husband. Didn't you see how much she was struggling? If you really loved her, you would have stopped her before it got this bad. You're only here now because she broke. You didn't love her enough to save her, and you didn't love her enough to stay. I sat there, staring at my screen, my heart pounding. Was that true? Had I failed her? I had spent so long telling myself that she was the one who left me first, that she chose her audience over me, that I had no choice but to walk away. But there were comments that made me question everything. She was in trouble, and you weren't there for her. If you really cared, you wouldn't be thinking about divorce. You'd be thinking about how to rebuild what was lost. She wants you back, dude. You know that, right? I rubbed my face. Because yeah, I did know that. Sarah had been dropping hints for months. The way she always asked if I wanted to grab coffee, the way she touched my arm when we talked, the way she always laughed at my jokes a little too hard, the way she looked at me when she thought I wasn't paying attention. Like she was still hoping. We had spent more time together in the past 6 months than we did in the last year of our marriage. But the thing was, it wasn't the same. Not for me. The time apart had changed something. She wasn't my Sarah anymore. And maybe I wasn't her Ethan anymore either. There was one comment that stuck with me more than the rest. You're still married? Dude, either commit or let her go. Don't drag this out. And they were right. I hadn't filed for divorce when Sarah was at her lowest. It felt cruel, like kicking her when she was already broken. But now she was better. Now she had rebuilt herself. Now there were no excuses. I stared at my phone, my thumb hovering over her contact name. I knew what I had to do. I just wasn't sure I was ready to do it.